This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. It's Thursday, September 12th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Welcome to the Lake Stevens Sewer District Board of Commissioners meeting. And we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next on our agenda is the public forum. Is there anyone on the virtual wall? We don't have any additional people in our room today, or any emails, notes, or cards.
Nothing received prior.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on. It doesn't look like there's anyone. Moving on to the agenda approval. Any additions or corrections?
Nothing from staff.
Great. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, consent items 5A through F. The commissioners have previously reviewed these in detail. And are there any questions or comments?
Nope. I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through F.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, number 6, old business, the G&O contract amendment 36, BBC improvements project construction management.
So this contract amendment before the board has some, it is to set a budget for some additional engineering that we may need for the BBC remodel project. The other two addenda to the contract did not have any construction management, and there was no access to the engineers after the project began. But as you guys know, as soon as you open up a wall or start demoing floor, you find 10 other problems. So this contract amendment gives us access to the engineers to help us with any last minute design things, answer questions to the contractor, as well as helping us put pay estimates together and review some of the submittals. Staff has reviewed the contract amendment and recommends it for approval.
Great. Do you have any questions?
No, I make a motion we approve the G&O contract amendment number 36 for the BBC improvement project in the amount of $74,800.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The 2024 Wellspring Employee Assistant Program Group Service Agreement.
So today we're looking for board approval for the GM to sign the agreement that covers the next 12 months roughly. EAP is a program that we offer to our staff for services that they may need. It doesn't get used a lot, but it's there in case we have some sort of situation or if staff themselves need additional assistance. It has been a great program for us and it is recommended for approval.
Okay. I don't have any questions or comments. Great.
Make a motion authorizing the general manager or designee to sign into the 2024 Wellspring Employee Assistance Program Group Services Agreement.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to agenda item number 7, new business A, the second quarter financials.
All right, so as soon as Melanie makes me presenter, aha, we did it. Okay, that's as smooth as that is not. Every single time I've done this. Okay, so I'm going to start with the quarter 2024 financial review, and then we're going to move into the mid-year budget. And so I'm going to keep the second year quarter review pretty short because we'll be talking in more depth about a lot of the accounts as of the end of June in the budget portion. So overall, as of the end of June, there were no surprises in terms of the financials. We're running right on budget, below budget actually. Our M&O expenses were down by 5% overall. Cash, in terms of comparing first quarter to second quarter changes, our operating funds increased by a little over $1 million. Our capital funds decreased by $157,000, and that's due to capital projects that are underway. Restricted debt went down 1.7 million, and that's due to all of the June debt payments we made. Overall cash was down 870,000. Operating income, so 2023 versus 2024, revenue was up $112,000 as of the same point last year. Operating expenses were also up $316,000, but that is no surprise. They're still running under budget. Overall operating income was down $204,000 from this year compared to last year, and that's due to the added expenses. To kind of go down into the departments, Plant M&O, overall their operating expenses are under they're under budget by 13%, and we also spent $49,000 less than we did last year on plant operations. Plant wages and benefits were up $9,000. However, that's still under budget by 8%. Overall, the plant M&O expenses are running under budget. Field M&O expenses, the operations. This year, we spent $43,000 more in field operations in comparison to last year. However, it's 3% under what we had anticipated in the budget. The field wages and benefits were up $97,000 from last year. However, also under budget, more by 8%. Admin expenses. Overall expenses were down this year in comparison to last year by $8,000, but definitely under budget by 23%. Admin wages and benefits were up $66,000, but under budget by $5,000. Connection fees. So if we look at connection fees from this year versus last year, we had collected as of the end of June $22,000 more this year than we did last year. It is below what we had budgeted for the year by 30%. Miscellaneous capital revenue is $18,000 lower this year, which is over budget by 269%. But if you look at the amount, it is, I can quickly tell you, it's not very much money. So we had budgeted for the whole year $4,380 for miscellaneous capital revenue, and we've collected $6,380. And miscellaneous capital revenue is our latecomers and reimbursable amounts. Donated facility, we have received $50,000 more this year than we had at this point last year, and we don't budget. That's not a budget line item for us. And same with grant revenue. It's not a budget item. However, we didn't receive any grant revenue this year at this point in time, but last year we had. So overall, second quarter, the year-to-date change in net position was an increase in $2.2 million. Any questions on the second year financials before I move in, or second quarter financials before I move to the budget portion?
No, thanks.
Okay, so let me see if I can now switch PowerPoints.
$420K in interest income just last quarter.
Let's
It's a nice position to be in.
It's a big number. Yeah.
Okay, so mid-year budget guidelines. So essentially the mid-year budget, we're trying to bring our budget in alignment with what's actually happening this year versus what we had projected at the beginning of the year. We're not going to make a ton of changes. The overall impact of the changes that we're presenting to you guys today doesn't affect the bottom line overall hardly any at all, and we'll get into that. It actually increases So the overall effect is only like $179,000 when you get to the bottom line for operating income. And so today I'm going to focus, because it's mid-year budget, I'm going to focus on the areas where we're proposing changes. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump in.
So just
Yeah.
to capture that, so
Yeah.
$130,000 is what he says, only difference on a budget that's
179, yeah.
179 on a budget that's, so you're talking about 1%
Very
or
little.
less. So yeah, this should be not a lot of drama.
It's not a lot of drama.
Yeah.
And there's really no surprises. We're just kind of fine tuning some of the areas, really, is all. So
Sounds good.
yeah. So when Schedule 1, the changes for the budget cash flows. Oh, sorry. Oh, we didn't move.
Can you jump back out and
Stop sharing. Or?
stop sharing and then share again? It didn't update the view.
So you can go completely small.
What's worked is the camera operator hasn't had,
Yeah, it's that
Continue to hit that,
presence.
yeah.
It's that presence.
With
we have a camera.
fear of Brandon in it.
Even the go-to meeting knows 1% isn't going to be a big deal.
That's right.
There we go. Okay. So hopefully it moves with my
Sorry.
cursor this time. No, thank you. I didn't see that. Okay, so overall, the budget cash flows. Let me get to my notes here. So operating cash, so I've changed the beginning balances to what they actually were instead of what we had projected them to be. I also, if you looked at the beginning of the year budget, you will see that there was a line item near the bottom that had said, where we had put some other funds down at the bottom. They represented funds for Fund 48, 49, and 60, which were all funds that we used for debt. I have moved them up to here because we have the debt payments on line 4 here, and so the cash should be up here as well. So if you compare beginning year budget to the mid-year budget, the numbers are the same. I just moved them up into the category that I believe it applies. So in terms of revenue, we are, so revenue, we're slightly low, and I'll get in, so this is the overall cash flow, and I'll get into like the specifics on the next slide for revenue and expenses. Overall, if you look, the bottom line, we're not changing much from, let's see, revenue is going to go from 19.4 million to 18.7 is what we're proposing. We are recommending increasing the budget for the return on investments, because as you can see, we had budgeted fairly conservatively at the beginning of the year at $156,000 for interest on return on the non-capital investments. As of the end of June, we'd already received $324,000. And so therefore I want to raise the budget amount for that line item to $600,000. And so this is just the non-capital investment funds that we use for M&O. District payments are not changing at all. They are as expected. I've adjusted the rate revenue contribution to capital to reflect the change in revenue. Overall O&M expenses, you'll see, are going to decrease by $300 and some thousand in there. And then the cash has been reflect actual. So to kind of dig in a little deeper, oh no, this is the bottom part of that summary page. This is the capital cash flows. Same here, I changed the beginning capital cash balances for the budget to reflect the actuals. There's not a lot changing here. We're going to leave connection charges the same because we are still hoping, we still anticipate most of those coming in by the end of the year. Interest on the capital investment funds, same as the non-capital. We've been getting higher interest than we anticipated, so we are increasing that up. Oh, did it not move? I see you guys looking at me.
Okay, keep talking.
You can follow along in the budget if you have it.
That's fine.
And so we're recommending increasing here, let me get to mine too, the interest on capital investments to $700,000 from $500,000 to bring it more in line with what's actually occurring. Also on there, the basin charges and forfeited reimbursables, because I'm raising that up to $65,000 from $2,000, and that's because we've already received that amount by, I think by the end of August, like I can already see, bring it in line with where we are. So we can anticipate that. Rate revenue contribution to capital, I brought that in line with what we expect to contribute. And just so you know, it looks, when you look at the actual through June 2024, it's 0. We do that transfer in July. That was already done. We do it for the whole year before. And so those funds have been transferred as of this point in time to the capital funds. And that's it on that. It's on Schedule 1. So I'm sorry I don't have my presentation anymore. We'll go on to Schedule 2, which is the projected operating revenues. And here, let's see, so we're bringing these in alignment with what's actually occurring. District rate revenue, we're lowering 3.5% to bring it in alignment with what is happening. And that was the projected amount for commercial properties wasn't exactly what we thought it was going to be. Permit fees, we're leaving the same, no changes there. Interest charges and late sewer fees, we're not changing. Late fees and penalties, we are going to lower that a bit. That's coming in lower than anticipated currently, and that's because I took a look at it. In 2023, we did a lot of notice of violations where we billed for illegal connections, and so we did a lot of cleaning those up and recapturing lost sewer funds. And so those were the 2023 numbers. And when I started the 2024, those were in there. And this year has been a lot lower on that. And so I'm bringing it in alignment with what's actually occurring this year. And then there's also been less in late fees and interest, which is good. Pre-treatment fees, if you take a look at that, the pre-treatment program fees, if you know, are our FOG fees. And at the beginning of the year, we based the budget based upon the amount of just for the program fees, which can vary from like $150 to $500. We don't take into account any violation fees. However, at this point in time, we have collected violations, penalties that we have charged for businesses that aren't in compliance with the program. And so I'm increasing the budget to reflect those. And that's it. There's no other changes overall in revenue. We'll move forward. Schedule 3 is the debt. There's nothing. It's exactly the same as it was at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to skip past Schedule 3 and move on to Schedule 4. It looks like we can't get my. Do you mind if I use my slides? So I'm gonna you can't see my slides, but I'm gonna use them as talking points because they highlighted the things I want to kind of talk about. Okay, so Schedule 4 M&O. I won't go into everything. If you look at the last column on the M&O Schedule 4, the last column is the amounts we're changing. The red means we're lowering the expense accounts for those line items. If it's black, if it's a positive black number, that means we're increasing the expenses for that line item. I won't go through them all. I'll kind of hit ones that stand out to me, and then you guys can let me know if you have any particular questions. For admin, I will tell you overall payroll, because there's a lot of journal entry or a lot of GL accounts there that relate to payroll. So overall payroll for admin, we are decreasing the payroll expenses. So overall, they were at 1.2 million. We're bringing them 1,276,000, and we're bringing them down to 1,231,000, which is a change of $45,000 and 4%. And that relates to overall, at the beginning of the year, we always have to project like benefits, taxes, the positions. And at this point in time, we know better what's occurring. In terms of positions in admin, we had a customer service rep that was promoted and is going full time. So we've taken that in November. We've taken that into consideration. We had less of an overlap for the accounting 2 position at the beginning of the year that impacted why we were coming in under budget. Yeah, so in terms of admin payroll, that's it. The rest of the expenses for admin, what I noted, if you look, one of the items that stood out to me was line number 5, the district funded incentive. This is a new line item for us. So you see there was no beginning budget, but this represents the incentive, the expenses we're paying to the customers who have signed the authorization, the commercial customers that have signed the authorization for us to get their meter reads from PD. We've given them all a $50 credit on their September bill, and so that line item's been added here. And that was a board approved expense. Also, admin BBC utilities, you'll see we're bringing that budget item down $5,000, and that's because at the beginning of the year when we were trying to anticipate how much the second floor utilities were going to add, we overestimated, and so we're now bringing in alignment with what's actually occurring. Admin customer billings and collections were increasing slightly by $3,000, and that reflects increase in postage fees, bank fees, and payment processing fees that we're experiencing. So the admin election costs, we're lowering that budget item by $8,736 because it was lower than we had anticipated. We don't anticipate any further expenses this year. Computer software maintenance. I remember, sorry. Which one was that? 2109, 2106. So this one we've added this one you'll hear more about in the future, but we're adding in some financial software that for $10,000 called Waterworth financial software that will help us in tracking our capital projects.
It also will help us with forecasting for budget purposes and where our debt is served. It's what we used to do, kind of force Excel to try and do, and we would play with what our rates need to be to cover our debt and stuff. So this is a more robust system that will also give us access to additional financial consultants.
So we're including that in hopes that that will get approved on the road. Okay, so then addition, looks like admin dues, certs, and subscriptions are significantly lower than anticipated, so we're lowering that to bring in alignment with what's actually happening by 10,000. And I think, so, line item 34, I'll draw that one out. BBC facility maintenance. There's, and Mariah, you might have to speak to this. It looks like we're adding lights that retrofit LED to, yeah.
So yeah, you'll notice even in this room, we have lights that are going out and they cannot be fixed any longer. So we're undergoing a whole program to retrofit the lights downstairs, along with PT incentives that we were eligible for. So.
Okay. So overall for administration, we're recommending lowering the admin expenses by $45,000. And insurance we're lowering by $5,000. There's no changes to the advisor expenses. So I'm going to move on to field M&O. Field, if you look at the field M&O expenses, in terms of payroll, is it working now? Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. So field payroll expenses, same as admin. We are overall lowering the payroll expenses from $2.4 million to $2.2 million, which is a change of $240,000, a 10% change. Same thing, benefits, taxes, changes in what actual amounts we're paying. In addition to that, the field, position changes, we've been holding on filling an engineering position that we had budgeted at the beginning of the year. So that's one of the reasons why we're having and I don't believe we're going to fill it this year. And so we're pulling that back out of the budget. We had a seasonal position that we had anticipated filling at the beginning of the year that we did not. And then there's also a vacant operator 3 position that we haven't filled at this point in time. And so we're bringing the budget in alignment with that. Field expenses. So, let's see. I will start, if you were to look at line item 61302, or sorry, let me say this again. Line 52, the field manhole and adjustments. We're increasing that line item by $10,000, and that's to account for $16,000 worth of manhole lids for the City 91st Avenue project that's been occurring. Lift station maintenance, which is line 55. So this one is, we're increasing it by $41,000, and I had a slide that showed you projects that were, that are underway that help make up for that, but I'll go through them. We have load bank testing that we have started doing or will be starting to do, and so that $17,000 is being added for that. We have generator maintenance for all the lift stations, and we're budgeting that at $22,500. We have OSHA, this is crane inspections for 2024, which are required, and that we're putting it into the budget for $4,500. I think we're increasing the budget by that amount for it. It was already in there. And then lift station 20 AC unit repair. There's a budget added of $4,300 to this account. So that makes up that difference. The decant facility, which is line item 57, we're increasing the budget $10,000 to accommodate adding a $11,000 loader bucket. Let's see. So line item 63, field odor control. This is the expenses that we've been paying have increased by 36%. And I don't know if that makes, okay. So yeah, we're increasing that, bringing in alignment. Field 96410. So, oh, and a lot, yes. So with that, that's a $15,000 increase. And then I'll bring your attention to 92109, which is line 67, field vehicle equipment. We're increasing, it doesn't look like we're increasing the budget, but we've added, and it's probably because other things have fallen off and we had room, but we've added a snow plow for the F350, a budget line item of $9,000, which there'll be more to come on that down the road. Okay, so in terms of field, the overall change is negative $190,000 for M&O expenses after everything is shifted around. Thank you. So plant, overall plant payroll expenses, same thing, they're coming down. We had budget of 1.7 million, they came in at 1.6, so we're lowering plant payroll by $100,000, which is 6%. Plant electricity, which is line 86, we're increasing that $35,000, and that is just due to the amount of electricity and what we're paying, bringing in alignment. So it looks like if you look at line 92, the sodium hypochlorite, we're bringing it down 25,000. Same thing, we're bringing it in alignment with what we've paid. Same with the citric acid. We had budgeted 15,000, but that's something we do every other year, and this year we will not be doing it. So we're removing that from the budget. Okay, so major service contracts, you'll see we're lowering 50,000, lowering the budget by 50,000. However, I will point out we did actually a lot of these. We have a lot of different things going on in there. Yeah, and I think most of them have already been talked about. Do you think, or is there anything you want to highlight?
So with the major service contracts, really that's things like our membrane maintenance and our centrifuges, the big equipment stuff. So at the beginning of the year, we had anticipated what the new contracts would look like. Now we actually know. So it's just bringing them back into it.
And it seems like there's a lot of left and right within the categories. And yeah, from my commissioner's perspective, you know, the line item itself, you all manage as a leadership team, and it's nice to know some of the details, but, you know, we're within a few percent, and in this case, almost 4% that's down.
Okay.
It's kind of like the details are interesting, but, you know, you're managing it in between, so don't feel like you have to do full disclosure on,
Every
you
single,
know,
okay.
on all of it.
I'll speed it along. So if I look down, and I'm happy with that. You guys let me know. Plant safety is going down $50,000 because we removed an HVAC access alkalinity project to a capital project. We moved it from M&O to capital. Other than that, I would say overall plant M&O expenses are coming down $154,000. And then all operating expenses, the whole M&O expense budget, we're recommending bringing it down nearly $400,396. With that said, we're going to move on to capital projects. And I did have a nice screen slide that I did want you to see to kind of, but we'll do the best we can. So I want to briefly, if you look at Schedule 5, it looks a little different from what you've seen in the past. So I want to talk really quickly about the changes so you can understand what information's on there and why it's there, how it's there. So we added in, so we now have an estimated column, which is what we've always used. That's when we know a project's coming. We don't know, it hasn't gone out to bid. We don't know what the price of it's going to be. It goes into the estimated column. And that does not include any allied costs, which are legal and engineering. That is our anticipated, all the rest of the costs. However, as projects move from being estimated to being bid or contracts being awarded, we have now added in a column to account for those. So then we'll move those dollars from estimated into contract/award. That's the second column with numbers in it. And we've also broken out some of the parts of the project that have been awarded through like specific parts of contracts in the past. I think G&O contracts. And so that's what those are. And if you have questions about those, Mariah and John can speak to those a little bit more. And then your actual column is how much we've spent for the projects. The remaining cost is the remaining balance of what we've either estimated or we have contracted or received an award cost left to spend. And so in terms of all the projects that are on this sheet in the 2024 budget, these are all the projects we're anticipating having actual cash expenses this year. So you may see some projects that were on here that aren't on here now, and that's because we don't anticipate spending any cash flow funds until next year, and so you'll see those on next year. We did some moving around of projects or adjusting some of these, and so I did have a slide that kind of just only focused on changes. And I will pass it over to Mariah and I'll let her highlight the ones that she wants to talk about.
A lot of the awarded amounts you would have seen previously in board meetings, right? So just for a quick example, line item 2 there, which is our Main Street, 18th Street, 20th Street Business Loop. That's all the gravity line for the 2C project. We had 2 G&O contracts, so that's the $32,000 and then the $111,000 that you'll see under there as well. Plus we have the ICI contract that was awarded for the $2.4 million. So you'll see quite a difference in that project. So it actually changed. It went up $1.4 million from the original estimated cost of the project. Let's see. I think what we'll do is we'll provide these slides through the website, and we'll send you a link so you can actually see all those changes. But in general, we haven't totally moved any projects or gotten rid of projects. It's really cleaning it up to say what is actually going to be spent this year, so you see a better idea of the cash flow. The remaining costs that have already been promised there is pretty important for us to know how much money is really left in that cash flow that we have. And that gets reflected then again on the summary, which is Schedule 1. So if you have any specific questions, happy to address them. But I think In general, we've heard about all the projects, and so that it's just reflecting them a little better in the budgeting.
I like that format. I mean, it's nice to be able to see it progress like that. So it really does give you a better overall view of what capital needs are. So that's nice.
All right, and that's it for me. So if you have any questions for me, let me know.
Thank you. That was very detailed and, no, it's good. I mean, right, you're like making sure everything's written out and.
Well, I think what's nice about it is, our ratepayers can go and take a look at this stuff because we can put it out there. And I think that they like to see where we're at. Everybody wants to know the position, and you guys have made it really, really simplified for them so they can take a look at it. It's nice to see the projects and how that's going to, because I think a lot of times there's a misconception out there like we're just sitting on a pile of money not doing anything with it, but we plan projects, and sometimes they take years to get there, and unfortunately there are rising costs that are associated with that, it's timing. The one thing I will say that I hear every time folks contact me is we are the only utility they feel in this community, probably anywhere, that we're consistent. That $99 a month they pay, I mean, I get more comments from people saying that is the only thing that I can count on every single month to be consistent. It's my phone bill's never the same, my PUD's never the same, my gas, I mean, because we don't have a utility tax. It is just, it's a flat, and that's what they know they can pay. And it's consistent, and that is the one message that everybody's ever contacted me. I said, you guys are the only one, you're the cheapest and you're consistent, because their cable's never there. So it's great to show, and we are adding a value that I think that folks really look at, and they see this. Because, they just know when they hit the lever in that restroom or in their bathroom, there are no issues and it just goes, and they're happy at that. They're not hearing about anything. So I just want to say kudos to collections, maintenance, the plant, the admin. You guys you make it work. It's nice just to, I don't want to say fly under the radar, but hey, if we're not in the headlines, we're doing pretty good. So.
I also like Schedule 1, the source, where you point back, so it's not like a Easter egg hunt to try to find the numbers, but just the referencing where and what line item. That's really, really nice level of transparency, and makes it really easy to follow if someone picked this up and, okay, where does that come from? I want a little more detail and capital, they can go right there. So yeah, well done.
Thanks so much, Tracy. Okay, moving on to 7C, Resolution 1064, assuming reimbursement funds related to the Catherine Crest DEA.
All right, so Resolution 1064, which is in your packet. Catherine Crest was a DEA that started in August of 2009, changed ownership twice. We had 2 addendums on that DEA, so collectively it was finally donated to the district in 2013. In 2014, we had received notice that the project had sold again, and we received an address change. And that's the last time we've heard from this owner of this development, was in 2014. And the statute specifically says that they need to notify us every 2 years of their contact information. Otherwise, the district can assume those latecomers from the original project. There are 2 units remaining that have not been collected. There were 3 units, 3 ERUs for this latecomer in the original DEA. One of them had already been waived by the developer, so there's 2 left at $5,390.41 per parcel, or per an ERU. This resolution has been reviewed by legal and is recommended by staff.
I have no issue.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1064, and that resolution of the Board of Sewer Commissioners for the Lake Stevens Sewer District, Snohomish County, Washington, assuming reimbursement funds related to the Catherine Crest DEA or developer extension agreement.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to the manager's report. First the general manager, followed by the assistant.
All right. Flow at the plant right now is at 2.577 million gallons a day. That's the last 7 days average. Caring by sharing, we have $245.84. That's enough to help 2 families. And we had mentioned it in the presentation that the meter incentive, which they needed to have it in by the end of last month, they received their incentive on their invoices for this month, but that totaled $8,700. So 174 accounts got us back that agreement that we had asked for. So that's good news for us.
What percent is that roughly? Is it
Percent of the
of folks, total folks that would be available?
So there's only about 20 that didn't.
That's amazing.
So
That
it's
uptake is,
really great.
I would have bet against that all day long. Wow. Okay. That's,
We spent a lot of time hunting down some
I bet,
lost
because
few
that
customers.
take rate is excellent.
Great. Jonathan?
So we are issued 74 permits so far and collected 62 GFCs. The lift station 2C force main and gravity project, you've probably seen all of the equipment still out in the street. Right before Labor Day, the weekend, the Friday before, the contractor ran into some very subpar soils. And we basically halted work before we lost the entire road. They're digging in a difficult spot right now. They've got 2 trenches right on either side of the trench that they're digging, 2 existing trenches so they are not digging in undisturbed material. So they're having an issue with the material sloughing in on their trench as well as groundwater. We're getting to a point where we're very near a couple of culverts going from one side of the street to the other, and water is infiltrating around those pipes. It's coming around the culvert pipes. So the groundwater has been dewatering the construction's been a very difficult challenge, so slowed down a lot. And I reminded the contractor that production at this juncture is not our primary concern, making sure that their crews end up at home every night, as well as the making sure we don't lose the entire road and have to rebuild that. So they've slowed down, and I think their construction dewatering plan seems to be working a lot better. We had to kind of reboot. So they're doing excellent work. It's just a very, very challenging spot. They're running into the old logging road where they had log booms across the road.
It's amazing how those trees remain intact if they're buried.
There's a lot of woody material down there. They're digging through the peat. They're over excavating to get below the peat, and the peat layer is kind of all over the place. And as soon as they remove some of the peat, then the water comes rushing in. So yeah, it's a very challenging dig, but the contractor's doing a great job. We did ask them, because they keep extending the road closure by like a week or 2, we asked them, let's step back, give us a realistic, build in some fluff so the city's not having to update the public messaging every week with, well, they're asking for another week. So I can see how that's burdensome on the city as well. So they're getting most of the calls.
Yeah, that's a tough area. I mean, that's the old outflow, that's the original outflow for one. I know when I was with the city in the early 90s, when they did the sidewalks on 125th, I went out there with one of the public works crew. And they dug down 18 feet with the extension as far as they go with that boom, and it was still peat.
Yeah.
So they just filled it with rock at that point. I mean, yeah, good luck. That's a tough.
I think
tough
Stevens around the lake is just kind of floats.
Well,
it's a water
you can
bed.
see, looking at like the LiDAR, the topography, that Lake Cassidy and Lake Stevens used to be connected at one point. So long ago.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, I think what they're digging through a few more years might have been some pretty good coal, but but yeah, they're doing a great job, and we hope to get we at the last meeting on Tuesday, the staff meeting, we invited the city to come and sit in, and we want to be as upfront as we can be with our project. The BBC project, as I'm sure you've heard, is underway. Yeah.
Good sounds.
The generator pad is poured, and they extended conduit to where they're revamping the electrical, trying to make it a little simpler. Rather than having 5 power meters, we'll go down to 2, 1 preferably, but probably 2. The demo is probably 70% complete. They ran into a couple of surprises, but not insurmountable ones. The CIPP project, we're finishing up. Brandon's helping us get a map, and we've got all the pipes that we think the first phase of CIPP should be done. So Mariah and I have gotten most of the contract and the request for proposals. We've got the documents ready to go. So once we get all of the material that we need to put into the bid packet done, then we'll get that out to bid shortly. But we've identified about 8 miles of pipe that we can slip line, mostly in the northeast side of the district. So looking forward to getting that out.
Nice.
And that's about all I got.
All right. Great.
Great, thank you so much. Now the city report, Jean.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for that update, Jonathan. I know you guys are on top of the 20th Street project. The folks we're hearing from are primarily the business owners that are being impacted by that, and we continue to share that same message about keeping the workers safe, and it is a really challenging site. So I appreciate your due diligence on that. Other than that, we have the council retreat tomorrow to talk about budget and planning for 2025. That'll be at 8:30 at the Blue Heron Room, Port Everett, open to the public as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Jean. And now the commissioners report. It's all right, we'll just
Start
stand
here.
to me and to Kevin. Is that all right?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, no, I just thank everybody, all the hard work. Like I said earlier, you guys, you make this place look great. You make us look great as electeds because you guys know what you're doing. And, we try not to interfere because they used to say, why should the amateurs tell the professionals how to do their job? But I just want to thank everybody. I know there is a conference this month for the Washington Association of Water Sewer Districts. I'll be attending that. It is a long drive to the other side of the state, but we've enjoyed them being on this side of the state, and I guess we got to share. So I'll be doing that. That's not this coming week, but the following week. But I appreciate everybody's work. Appreciate my fellow board members putting up with my calling in sometimes with probably poor connections, but my vacations are done, so I guess I'm done.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tracy, and everyone in accounting for the excellent presentation. I feel like it's very transparent and thorough, and that's very exciting about the commercial metering accounts. And I know that, I can imagine the amount of work it took to have such a good response, but that's excellent for the sewer district. And thank you, everyone, for your hard work. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'm excited about the slip lining project. I think, what a great reflective work of all the CATV work we've done, the investments we've made there, all of that coming all the way around. And I'm sure if I was one of the folks out there TVing this, are we ever going to use this? Yes, we are. and we're using it in a big way. So, and you don't look too cross-eyed from watching the video. So I appreciate that. We have a great EAP if you need some help. So we can start with that. But excited about that project kicking off. That's all I got.
Awesome. All right, we do have an executive session today. What are we thinking, Jordan, as far as time frame?
I think 15 minutes should be sufficient. We can start there at least.
Like a 5-minute gap to increase attention span, if that's possible.
So is it all right if we start the executive session at 9:55 to 10:15?
Sure.
That's 20 minutes. Not too long.
We'll fill
We'll
Um,
go. Good at talking.
yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay.
Okay. The Lake Stevens Sewer District Commission will move into executive session beginning at 9:55 pursuant to RCW 4230-110 subsection 1 subsection I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to pending litigation to which the agency is a party. The executive session will conclude at 10:15. Was it 10:15? Is that where we landed? You're muted. I think 10:15 was where we landed. At the conclusion of the executive session, the commission will adjourn the board meeting with no related announcements or actions taken.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does that thing have a mind on its own today?
It does.
Thanks a lot.
Good job, Brandon.
Itself. Andrea, it looks like
Thank
This
you.
conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're back in the Lake Stevens Sewer District Board of Commissioners meeting from executive session with no decisions to follow.
I make a motion that we adjourn the
I'll
meeting.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.